Pace has dropped on another round of soccer down here. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday. And apologies for 9:06. I was trying to get things done and trying to figure out where my legal pad was with all of my notes. Not down here. John, here, you there. Thanks for hanging out with us. Today it's a Wall Pass Wednesday, midweek whip around. We're kind of all over the place. And, yes, happy match day. So hour number one, we'll be getting into Atlanta United and FC Cincinnati. And that will be it's going to be a big one. But there are questions, obviously, that we look at when we're looking at these two teams. And if you read if you read Morning Kickoff over at soccerdownhere.net, Jason went through a lot of the big questions. We'll go over those if you haven't had the chance to read that as well. And it's the opportunity to catch up with Lucho Costa, Brandon Vasquez. And that is an underlying question that I've got with Cincinnati. So we'll see what their lineup looks like, because they've got Orlando this weekend. So we'll see. We'll get into all of that. We'll get into all the other matchups here in the midweek Whiparound, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. And we'll get into national team stuff in hour number two. It is anticipated today that Greg Berhalter will be announcing his team coming up for a couple of matchups in September. And so we'll be getting into that in hour number two. Bart Keeler is going to hop on, and we'll discuss that. We'll discuss John Herdman. We'll discuss all the national team stuff and the news of the morning in hour number two before we get out of here at 11:05. Jared, good morning.
Good morning.
What
are we mad about today?
Well,
I know the answer, and I don't even want to deal with it, so whatever. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's just rip this Band-Aid off so I can be pissed off.
Well, all right, go for it.
No, you started. Go ahead.
No, I was going to be talking about, hoping everybody that we know in Soganofla is going to be safe today.
That for sure, yes.
Going on with Idalia. And for me, I'm thinking about that. I'm seeing everything going on with Cantori, and I'm seeing stuff going on with Paul Goodlow and Charles Peake and all of our friends at the Weather Channel, and hoping that, God, they're safe more than anything else. But, no, I mean, for me, hour number one, opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And there's your QR code for those of you who are watching on more than just Twitch. It is on Twitch and Twitter and the Facebook page for Soccer Down Here. So you can catch up there. And don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase at Kickoff Coffee. They, in turn, take 10% and reinvest it into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. For kickoff, Jarrett, this morning, I was going to talk about the Carabao Cup.
No, let's do it.
And the results yesterday. Bournemouth winner, Cardiff winner, Middlesbrough winner, Norwich winner, Exeter City winner, Luton winner. They finally won something this year. It's going to be a tough slog in all competition. Brentford wins 3-0 on penalties over somebody called Newport County AFC. I know who they are. Crystal Palace won. Port Vale won. You had more going to penalties. Sheffield Wednesday loses. Stoke put 6 on Rotherham. Nix is happy. Leicester won. Wolves actually scored goals and put 5 on Blackpool. Wrexham is out. Out, I say. Bradford City won in penalties. Ipswich beat Reading. Jess is upset. And Salford beat Leeds 9-8 in penalties last night. But the one I wanted to focus on.
It's because Leeds put up like 35 shots in that game, I think.
Yes. Then it is Fulham and Spurs. Fulham wins 5-3 on penalties, and I blame Spurs' kit that they broke out yesterday.
I don't know. A lot of the complaints I saw were the fact that Ange changed out like 8 players.
For those that are new to this chaos with Ange Postecoglou in general, I mean, what should folks be staring at when it comes to Ange Postecoglou and Spurs this season? For those who've never seen him, break this down.
I mean, I don't even know what there is to break down. He's going to be aggressive. They are going to try and score a ton of goals. And it's not the same thing as like Bielsa. Like they're not the same kind of animal. It's comparing apples to carburetors, but it is that like, oh, you're up. Well, you gonna back off? No, we're not. They're just gonna keep doing their thing. They're just going to keep chugging along in a hilarious fashion. Um, they're gonna go for stuff, and he's also going to rotate in situations like that. He did it. It caused much a heartburn for people at the end of last season when he had locked up the Scottish Premiership. He started rotating to play the guys he wants to see who he has in the squad, and he's going to give them what tantamounts to live fire drills.
Yes.
And if they succeed, great. If they don't, well, he's learned something about his squad.
Yeah.
He usually doesn't. He doesn't want to lose, of course, but he's going to use those situations to see what he has. So, yeah, look for them to, and especially since they're out of one cup. I think the pressure ratchets up to do better in the other one. What are there? 2 cups? Anyone know?
What we've got we got Gummy Bear, and this was Gummy Bear.
FA. Okay, this was Gummy Bear. So you still have FA.
Yeah. So that Gummy Bear, you look at it and you go, okay, yeah, whatever, great, fine.
Yeah, but I mean, if you at a certain point, and even if it's a Gummy Bear Cup,
yeah,
at a certain point when you make it far enough, you're like, man, trophy's a trophy.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think it has ratchet pressure on them to do better in league, which they're doing fine. He started great in league, and then to do well in FA Cup. So
there you go.
That's not a ton to read into it, in my opinion. It's Ange doing Ange stuff. So
and for me, the biggest read is don't ever wear that damn double chocolate jersey ever again. What the hell was that?
Sometimes we learn lessons the hard way in life. I tell my daughter all the time, there are times in life where I'm going to let you learn a lesson the hard way, i.e. through literally falling down or scraping your knee or stuff like that. And there are times I'm going to try and help you avoid learning a lesson the hard way. Depends on the lesson.
Next to it is taupe haze.
This is one of those, I'm going to let you, Spurs, learn the lesson the hard way. It is comforting to know, though, that that they've been appropriately punished for that kit.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, and so that's part of opening kickoff, and I'm getting rid of this now because I could give a tinker's damn about it. Fantastic that Vanity Fair caught up with Greg Berhalter. I don't care.
Oh, God. Okay,
I don't care. And, okay, great, you've gone to mediation. Fantastic. Great. I didn't read it. I'm not going to read it. I don't care.
I scanned over it. It's fine. Greg knows the pressure that's on him, and he knows that, look, I mean, it's a situation that is damn near, for another person, we would consider to be unfair.
Yeah.
Because he is kind of in a weird situation where he is going to be under so much pressure, and some of it is going to be self-inflicted by his brother and his station.
Yeah.
And Greg having that job, and then coming back this time. So what I guess my takeaway from it was like, sure, they'll go through mediation to talk to Gio.
Right.
Look, there was no answer. There's no article on this planet that you could write that is going to, short of Berhalter resigning the post and then immediately falling into a manhole.
Yeah.
That would make some people happy. So don't bother trying.
Yeah.
My thing with it is he's going through mediation and he's going to figure this out, and whether or not he should reach out directly and just, pop into the garden or pick up the phone, that's a Greg decision. I don't know how Greg is wired.
Yeah.
What we do know is that both of these families are kind of fractured right now.
Mm-hmm.
And for Greg's faults, let's not pretend like the other end of this equation did not try and torpedo that man's career and personal life multiple times.
Yeah.
Whether or not Gio had anything to do with that, look, I'm not holding him responsible for the actions of his parents. That's not fair.
Yeah.
The idea that Greg would want to go through mediation and might need a minute, I don't think is unrealistic considering what the last, let's see, it's August now, what the last 10 months have probably been for him.
Yeah.
And some of that is having to contend with stuff that happened in the past that he wasn't expecting to get dredged up.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, like, I understand if you feel like he should have just gone there and straight up just talked to Gio right away.
Yeah.
I get that if that's where you're coming from with it. I'm not Greg. I don't know how much strain this has put on his personal life, and maybe if he wants to consult with someone professional about, hey, all of this happened, none of it was good, and I'm really still pissed off and don't know how I want to address this. At one point, he talks about, making sure that one of the reasons he wants to do this is to discuss things the right way with Gio, so that what was the exact quote? Give me a moment because I had it saved. Here was started this process of how to set expectations a little and figure out how we're going to move forward together. Some of it will involve him, some of it will involve us, and eventually, hopefully, it leads towards Gio being comfortable in the team, comfortable that he's being fairly evaluated fairly and coached fairly and held to the same norms and standards as everyone else. Now, that seems like the kind of thing you could just tell somebody, but considering what the last almost calendar year been for everyone involved here, I understand wanting to deal with it with tact, because I mean you're in a situation right now where you want, I think that would be my big thing if I were him, is making sure that Gio knows, hey, everything that happened is between me and your parents. It's not between me and you.
Yes, but it's difficult to separate that,
though. For Greg, it might be.
Yeah.
Because we're humans. Because humans are emotional creatures, and sometimes rational, sometimes irrational, and it might be tough. And we don't know how much Gio was privy to what was going on, and how much he was blindsided by the antics of his parents.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that Greg is getting this into gear, because I hope that is the main bit of communication with Gio, that, hey, this is between me and your parents. Me and you, we're cool. I don't know how you want to convey that if you're Greg, but that should be the message, I think, is, what happened isn't between me and you.
Yeah.
We're cool, and you got to just make sure that he feels comfortable and that you feel comfortable and you're in a good mental place to teach him, to coach him and evaluate him and work with him in a fair way, not just for Greg's sake, but for Gio's sake, so Gio doesn't go into this feeling like he's got a target on his back.
Right.
And that stuff ain't easy, man.
No.
It's one of those that, like, this is one of the knock-on effects, though, of bringing Greg back. Is, if you felt like Greg was your best shot at manager, fine. But this was always going to be one of the things you had to contend with, was if you bring him back, this is going to be the elephant in the room that has to be dealt with.
Yeah, all the dirty laundry.
Yeah, and it's something that is going to have to be dealt with effectively by him and by Gio. Now, sure, you can get intermediaries and mediation and whatnot, but ultimately they are going to have to work on this together, because it is 2023.
Yes.
We are closing in fast on the calendar year of 2024 based on the calendars that we all follow.
Yes.
The time moves real damn quickly with national team stuff. So go ahead and work through this ish.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that's where we are. Like I said, I haven't read it. I saw the taglines and the quotes that led to the most consternation and the most bolos and things like that and mediation. It's like, okay, great, fine. But yes, somebody at Vanity Fair. I don't even know who wrote the article. I
didn't think the article was unfair, by the way. So like, let's just so we're clear. Like, I had no problems with the article. Like, it's Greg, because they printed out some of the stuff. You know, they asked Greg about the Reynas, and he didn't want to talk about it, and that's that. He was not in a good place to talk about it, and I think that factors into it, man. Honestly, like, I think it is a really sore spot for him, and I'm wondering if the mediation for him is separating Gio from this.
Yeah.
Which sounds really petty and it sounds really childish on the surface, but we're also not in that situation. So I think it's hard for us to straight up judge him on that front.
Yeah.
Like, and this all of this being separate from, and I know Tom's, and Tom, I know you have been consistent with your opinions on it.
Yes.
Of Greg out, and cool. A lot of that for a lot of people is soccer related, and that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and tell anyone they're wrong for that. But yeah, we'll just, dude, we're going to have to see how they work through it, because it's going to be there's going to be some raw moments, I'm sure.
No doubt. David's on your side in all of this, saying that if someone should be reaching out to apologize, I think it's Gio more than Greg. Yes, he'll need to clear the air, but Greg didn't cause the fight. Gio and his parents did.
And to that extent, and see, this is where I think it gets tricky, because, like, it'd be awesome if Gio was able to do that, but he's also just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And he, for all we know, Gio feels as... Do we know how much he knew about what his parents were doing? If I'm not mistaken, he was kind of in the dark on it.
Yeah, we do not know the extent, if at all, what Gio knew about what Claudio and his mom did.
Yeah, like, stuff like, kid had a weird World Cup. He did some growing up, and I don't know if we gave enough credit to the leadership of that club, of that national team, to not as much to Greg, but I do want to give Greg a little bit for not overruling his national team, because he won't remember, if you remember the interview he did that got leaked, that wasn't supposed to get leaked,
right?
When he did the symposium, he wanted to send Gio home,
right?
And he deferred to the leadership of the national team. I give him credit for not going full tyrant.
Yeah,
and you can take that for however you want. I give him credit for not overruling his leadership, for letting his national team leadership the players do their thing. I give credit to Gio for responding the way he should. It's not apples to apples, but it's like Tyler Wolff taking the jump this year. Tyler Wolff didn't make the youth national team when he thought he was a shoo-in.
Yep.
And when he didn't make it is when he started really jumping for Atlanta United and started making those strides. And it's how you respond to that criticism or to that disappointment. And credit to both of them for doing that. Credit to, in this case, credit to Gio for responding the right way, for doubling down on training, for talking openly about it afterward. Of, I was disappointed. Like, yeah, it's okay to be disappointed. And what's important is that you learned from it.
Yep.
And he did. Now, Greg flubbed by expecting, because we talked about this when the symposium thing leaked, it's 2023. If you say something to an audience that's going to be recorded, don't assume it's going to be kept secret.
Correct.
You can't. In 2023, I don't give a damn about your intentions. You can't assume that it's going to be kept private.
Mm-hmm.
And he screwed up in that situation. Yeah, it's just, my question with it, like I said, the Vanity Fair article was fine. I think, kind of reading into it a bit, he is still really raw with the Reyna family, because they were friends for years.
Yep.
And because getting stabbed is one thing. Getting stabbed by somebody who you considered to be damn near family,
Yeah.
to be close personal friends, to come from not where you expect it.
Yeah, Judas.
It's tougher.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's working through. And to a bunch of people's points, Greg's gonna have to work through it with haste now. Like, and I know you don't want to rush things and make them worse, but he does have to. He does have to work through this. And I don't know if Gio's reached out, and I don't know how much we put on Gio because he's kind of caught in between here. He, didn't try and torpedo a guy's career. He acted petulantly at the World Cup and then, grew through it. He's been kind of on the sideline watching these nukes get traded back and forth and watching all this chaos. If Gio's philosophy is, I'm going to wait for him to reach out to me for when he's comfortable, I'm sort of fine with that.
Yeah.
Because if I'm Gio, I would not want to press it.
Right.
With Greg.
Yeah.
Because, and to Tom's point, like, he is still a kid. And Greg's got to work through this to get to the point where he's going to communicate out to Gio.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that's sooner rather than later, and hopefully everything works out really well. It'd be great if all of this works out perfectly, but I did like Greg's point of, I want to make sure that Gio feels comfortable and feels like he's being treated fairly. And I think that's incredibly important here because, you could bring him back into the national team picture right away and say, hey, come on back, it's fine. But what good does that do you if Gio is looking over his shoulder, expecting to get stabbed in the back, expecting to be treated differently?
Yeah.
However, Greg needs to do that. He needs to do it his way. But you also want him to do it at a reasonable pace because time is of the essence.
Yes, time is money.
Anyway.
Yes. So there you go. All right. So Bart's coming on at 10 o'clock, and we'll talk national team stuff. And I know that Bart also wanted to talk about Herdman. And if there's any – oh, yeah. And if there's anything –
Toronto did that.
Yeah. See? Yeah. And if there's anything else that's on Bart's mind, you've also got a half hour to get your reffing down here thoughts together because reffing down here will be a part of the discussion when Bart comes on as well. So national team stuff, roster ideas for the 2 matches in September supposed to be announced today. We'll go over possibilities and all that kind of stuff when Bart joins us at 10 o'clock, 10:30. We'll get you ready for the rest of your day, get you through all the gossip, rumor, innuendo, and things left unsaid. But now, since it is 9:30-ish, time to talk about what's going on tonight. It's a lot of games, and what we will do is we will go through the other games on the board, but we will save Atlanta and Cincinnati for the last so we can talk about it for however much time we want to talk about it leading up to 10 o'clock. So we got games tonight, and 7:30 has 6 starts. Charlotte hosting Orlando City. Charlotte's a plus 135 at home. Orlando City on the road is a plus 186, and your draw is a plus 261. Side note, Orlando plays Cincinnati this weekend. So you've got all of that. You've got all of that future subplot that's attached to it. And you're looking at right now, Orlando in 4th place at 43 points, 12 wins, goal difference of plus 9. And Charlotte right now is at 29 points, chasing after that 9 spot, 3 points out right now after 24 matches played. What say you, Jarrett Smith, as this one's on season pass?
What were the numbers?
The numbers, Charlotte's a plus 135 at home. Orlando City's a plus 186. Your draw in the composite is a plus 261.
Give me Charlotte because I want it to happen at this point because I want maximum chaos. Like, the playoff pictures are so muddled and they're so congested right now. Charlotte can make some real noise here. Orlando losing would be best for Atlanta. So let's go with that. Let's go with my emotions.
Yes, and Ricky is like, give me Charlotte after they took down LAFC. So Ricky's right. Ricky's riding the hot streak.
Well, here's the thing, man. Like, we've seen one game for Miami, but for the most part, the teams that went into Leagues Cup struggling have come out of Leagues Cup struggling.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Leagues Cup has not, for everyone, carried over positive momentum, Messi notwithstanding. And we'll get a better idea of that tonight. But Nashville had been bad in the league before Leagues Cup.
Yes.
Magical run.
Yes.
Dropped a 4-0 ass beating to Atlanta. Some of that, and also, well, some of that also was you didn't have Dax, you didn't have Zim.
Yeah, you didn't have Walker at the back. True, but you run it.
I was told last year injuries weren't excuses, so whatever.
Which leads us to the next game at 7:30, 7:39. Inter Messi CF is hosting Nashville. Inter Messi and friends are a -182. Your draw is a +334, and Nashville to win on the road is a +471.
I mean, after what just happened in the weekend, feels about right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nick says, so after one win in Major League Soccer with Messi, Miami's up to 4th in the power rankings. How many wins till they're on top?
Oh, if they beat Nashville, watch me a second.
Give it like 2 or 3 more.
I'm not as much worried about them as I am Nashville in this one because I feel like we're going to learn some stuff about Nashville.
Yeah. So I got to go with Messi and friends myself.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Miami, but I am going to go with the caveat of there's a non-zero chance that we're going to learn some stuff about Nashville because we talked about it after the Nashville game that like when you're getting like pounded into the sand like that, you learn some stuff about yourself. You learn some stuff about guys on your team. Because you're in a situation where you're trying to kind of stop the bleeding, but a lot of times you'll get that line change like Gary Smith did. I'm gonna put some guys in here and see who's got some fight in a game that's pretty much done and dusted.
Yeah,
we very often learn some things about folk.
Bet365 Hutch traditionally does the individual props. So let's go to our friends at Bet365 because they're really good at this kind of stuff. And let's see if they have something attached to young Messi. And yes, frequently visited soccer. I know. Let's see. USA MLS. Click on that. Enter Miami, Nashville. Clicking on that. Player. Click on that. Goal scorers. First or second half alone for Messi to score. You can do a first half juice box or a second half juice box at a +200. For an anytime juice box, which is basically saying, yeah, I think he's going to score, it's a -225. So that's where they get you. -225 on him scoring at any time during the match, but they can break it up and say, is it first half or second half? Then you can get him at a +200. That's courtesy of our friends at Bet365. So that's what you're looking at. So do not have a Zimmerman update, but if I'm them, I'm holding him out for this one too. And we get to say what life is like with the back going up against Lionel Messi and Messi and friends. Yeah.
No, we get to just watch them try and survive that game because, once again, Nashville is defined by two things. Well, really one thing. Does Hani Mukhtar contribute to a goal or an assist?
9 and 5. Yeah, absolutely.
If he does not, they lose. If he does, they have a chance to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 9 and 5. If
they do get Fafa Pico back in that.
Yes.
That's one to watch for tonight. Like, him being kind of a wild card to contribute.
Check. So we've got that to look at as well. Also on the board in your matchups, as we go back to the other 7:30 kicks in Major League Soccer, Revs and Red Bulls. This one might set the world back a couple of years. Revs, it's at Gillette, so there might be some salvageable element to it. Shooter's got a team at a plus 141. Your Draws a plus 247. Red Bulls are a plus 183. I got to go Revs here.
Yeah, Revs. I mean, Revs have some problems in the sense that, look, we have not efficiently slandered MLS enough for the lack of transparency with the Bruce Arena situation.
Yes.
Though you don't have to tell us everything, give us a clue, man, because like y'all put him on leave during Leagues Cup, and it has been quiet as a damn church mouse.
Yeah, it's like he's on Bora Bora or something.
It has been unacceptable. The lack of communication.
Yeah.
You sold your amazing shot stopper.
And you signed Earl Edwards Jr. and then you brought in who was it? It's not Tomas Vaclik, but it's close.
The Revs have some stuff they're trying to figure out. Like the Revs are just kind of like treading water right now, which is fine. They're in a position where they can tread water.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, it hasn't been great. But also the Red Bulls Atlanta game is really like the best moment of Red Bull season, because Atlanta has been an enigma this season and has both pummeled people and been pummeled by people. They're very 9s and 1s when it comes to that.
Yes,
we'll get to the Atlanta game later, but yeah, man, it's going to be interesting.
Yes, and Tomas Vaclik is the player that they have brought in for the roster. So Vaclik and Earl Edwards Jr. plus a player from the twos. Right now, that's what you're staring at with New England in net. That's where we are here. Coming from Huddersfield. Okay, so he's coming from Huddersfield Town, and after so that's where he was before he was picked up by the Revs on August the 26th. Signed a contract, club option 25 pending receipt of his P1 visa. So might be Earl Edwards in net tonight if Vaclik has not yet cleared protocols and okie dokes from the government. So that's where we are with the Revs. That might be the other element in the room when it comes to this particular match. The Maxime Chanolis NYCFC are at home going up against CF Montreal. Yeah, they're at a plus 328.
I don't care.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you're that confident, NYC right now is a minus 119 on the board. Draws a plus 263, and it's on the free side of Apple TV for a 7:39 kick, and it is at Yankee Stadium as 5, 10, and 11 hosts 11, 12, and 2. So
I don't care. NYC has to get right with God, and they have not done that.
Yep. All of these except for Charlotte and the Charlotte match and the Atlanta match, they're on the free side of Apple TV. 4 of the 6 at 7:30 are on the free side of Apple TV. Also, it is Toronto hosting Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a road favorite at a plus 106.
Just hammer that. Don't think about it. Don't think about it.
Yeah. Yes.
Don't think about it.
Uh-huh.
Do it.
Uh-huh.
Don't discuss it. Don't think about it.
No, absolutely.
Toronto is playing for 2024.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully getting rid of a lot of folks. So yeah, there's a lot of folks, and we talked about who will not be around. John Herdman will be. We'll be catching up with Bart probably in about 20 minutes just to kind of get his thoughts on John Herdman. 8:30. You got a lot of 8:30s tonight. 5 at 8:30. Austin hosting Seattle at a plus 114. Seattle on the road's a plus 222, and your draw's a plus 262.
Give me the draw there. Like, I don't trust Austin. Seattle's looking better, but like they went and got that weird draw over the weekend in Minnesota, which is funny because like we haven't talked enough about the fact that Minnesota is a terrible home team. They have 2 home wins this year. They've done all their damage on the road.
Yep.
If they miss the playoffs,
Oof.
Do we finally start talking about Inchy?
I think so.
Not being the guy
with all the investment that they've made. You've brought in Pookie for Pookie time.
Yeah, like do we start talking about?
What has Timu Puki done since he's been in the league?
He scored a couple goals, I think. Scored in Leagues Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I mean,
it's not, but better than Hockey Lobo.
It's true. That's definitely true. Definitely true. I mean, yeah, good on you for picking up Timu Puki. And 16 all-time meetings have been evenly, each team winning 7 with 2 draws. So basically, Minnesota and Colorado was it's a toss-up is what everybody is saying about Minnesota and Colorado across the board. But also, you've got I'm thinking that it's a draw. Also, Chicago and Vancouver. It's also at 8:30, and Ben Olsen.
That might be a fun game.
Yeah,
Chicago and Vancouver. Like Chicago's been so much better than I thought they would be.
Yeah,
post Ezra.
Yeah, because nobody's better than Ezra.
Well, exactly. And then, damn it. And then Vancouver has been good.
Yes.
Even post the Julian Gressel move, which I give Vancouver credit for doing right by Gressel.
Yeah.
But man, that was like.
I want to go back to the East Coast. Okay, Columbus.
Yeah, like
close.
It's close enough. Just kind of generally just threw that sword in the air, and wherever it lands is there he shall be buried.
Yes.
But I give them credit for doing right by Gressel. But that sucked for Vancouver. Yes. They were. I think Vancouver can make some noise out west.
Yep, that's on season pass. Austin, Seattle's on season pass. Chicago, Vancouver, pound the over. I like the over in that one. You get yourself a good number on your total. And Chicago and Vancouver. Chicago at home is a plus 133. Over under turns to a positive at 3.5. Technically at 3 it does at a plus 108. 3.5 is a plus 163. I'd jump on that. So I'd take the over in that one starting at plus 163. Houston Columbus should be a fun one. That's on the free side of Apple TV at 8:30. Houston's a home favorite in that one. Minnesota and Colorado also at 8:30. And like I said, Minnesota, Colorado. If Minnesota doesn't do anything, you got to start looking at Heath as head coach. Right now, they're at a minus 145 as Colorado comes to town. Obviously, Colorado is now in wooden spoon territory, chasing after that. So, draw with Austin, Seattle. It's going to be a fun one, I think, with Chicago with Vancouver. Pound the over. Houston and Columbus should be another fun one. Houston's a favorite at home at a plus 117. I think draw there. Minnesota better win at a minus 145. Don't touch it. 8:30, all caps is hosting FC Dallas at a minus 119. Your draw is a plus 276. And FC Dallas is a plus 311 on MLS Season Pass. 8:39 kick in St. Louis. What say you on that
one? At this point, give me all caps. I feel like all caps just going to continue to roll through here.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? Good on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
Yes.
You're doing what you should do at this point, which is you're taking what's kind of a weird schedule and you're running with it, and you are thriving. And I give them all the credit in the world for that. You know who really benefits from this game, by the way?
Atlanta. Yeah, so they're on the road at all caps, and then they got to turn around and go to.
They're hosting Atlanta.
Yeah,
in the weekend.
Yep.
But to your point, all caps get Dallas. So now Dallas has to go play all caps, which is a pain in the ass to do.
Yep.
Because you're playing that beat 'em up style that all caps will do.
Yep.
And then Dallas is going to turn around and go play Atlanta. And well, I get look, we'll have different feelings about that game. Like, I'm hoping that if Atlanta doesn't take 3 points tonight, the sky isn't automatically falling for people.
Right.
Because I think even though you're on the road, that's a good kind of setup for Atlanta, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, it's one where it's not we talk about this in basketball about a scheduled loss.
Yeah.
Atlanta having to go to when they had to go out to LAFC on short rest,
Right.
that felt like a scheduled loss. When they had to do, God, what was it? The Montreal tour. When they had to do like Montreal
Revs.
to New England,
Yeah.
then to Atlanta in like 7 days.
Yeah.
That felt like a scheduled loss. Like you got the point in Montreal.
You're like, yep.
You didn't in New England, and then you had to come home and play Orlando when Orlando had the week off. Like that felt like a scheduled loss.
Yep.
This Dallas game this weekend, we'll get into it Friday. This Dallas game does not feel like a scheduled loss because of what Dallas is going to have to do in the midweek.
Yep. 2 10:30s, both on season pass. Portland hosting RSL, and Cali Classico. San Jose is hosting LAG. So both of those are at 10:30. Obviously, catching up with them in the morning. Looking at juice boxes on those. Timbers are a favorite at home at a plus 116 after all the chaos that's gone on recently. Draws a plus 271, RSL so plus 211. I'm going to go with RSL on that one.
I'm going to go with RSL, and I'm going to go. We are now in the shoveling dirt on Portland territory.
Yeah.
Which, this is hindsight, and I'm going to acknowledge that it's hindsight as I say it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it look even worse that you fired Gio when you did.
Yeah, it does.
Because, look, I get it that you felt like, and maybe stuff in the locker room behind the scenes wasn't good, and it needed to happen. And if that's the case, that changes this story a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But for a guy who took you to 2 MLS Cups, has, won MLS's back tournament, which no one else is ever going to do.
And I've got the scarf right over there.
Unless we have another, pandemic that shuts down the entire world.
Encourage.
Who had the man had a very successful run, and was was arguably your most successful manager over an extended period of time.
Yeah.
To send him out the airlock at this point of the season,
yeah,
it felt like the wrong move. But like I said, I say that not knowing if there was stuff happening behind the scenes where it needed to end now, that changes it. Mm-hmm. If there wasn't, then I especially hate the move, and it's only somehow even worse if they just don't even make the playoffs,
mm-hmm.
and they're probably not going to.
Yeah. So there's that matchup, and then Quakes and Galaxy. The numbers on that one we'll get to in a second. I would pound the total on this one, and knowing that our friends in the composite odds portal have your money flipping negative to positive at plus 3.25. So once again, 3.5 is a plus 154. I like that. Take the over at 3.5 at a plus 154. And your overall numbers, Quakes are a favorite at home, and it's even changed less while we've been talking about it. Quakes started out at a plus 111 or a plus 114. They're down to a plus 108 in the composite. LAG on the road's a plus 229. Your draws a plus 270.
When's the last time we felt good about the Galaxy?
Before the sanctions.
Yeah.
Billy Sharp, 37 years old, coming in to help your depth.
Well, but here's the thing, though, man. Like, here's the thing, though. Like, this actually is going to be fun because LAG, you actually have a little bit of optimism there right now.
Mm-hmm.
San Jose, we talked about this. San Jose is inconsistent, but they're not bad. They might be good, and not just like a weird good, which is my preferred type of good.
Right.
But like good. Like Lucci's for year one, Lucci's building something that I think can be good down the road. Like, where are they in the playoff picture right now?
Who? 6. They got 35 points. San Jose is in 6th place, 35 points, but there's madness in the West right now.
There is madness in the West. Do they make the playoffs? I think they should.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, watch out for Sporting.
Yeah. Mad Peter Vermes is not a good thing for the rest of the league.
Sporting sitting there at 29-3 off the playoff picture right now. Just kind of feels dangerous for everybody.
Huh?
They've played one more game than a bunch of the people in front of them. I get it, but like, look at the West. Like,
Huh? Yeah, look at the West.
look at the back half of the playoff picture. Like, Houston's in fifth. I
Yeah.
like Houston. Again,
Yep.
Ben Olsen is my coach of the year, not residing in St. Louis. I will relent that Bradley should get
Carnell should get it.
Bradley Carnell should get coach of the year. Fine. St. Louis is going to win the West probably.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Ben Olsen should be right behind him.
Yeah, he should be RV.
What he is building in Houston is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
San Jose might make the playoffs. San Jose, I think, is in really good shape for the future. I think that what Lucci is building there is sustainable and incredibly fun. Vancouver's fun. Vancouver's scrappy in the sense that you don't want to fight them because, yeah, you'll probably beat them, but God, you're going to have to get so many knife wounds dressed after that fight.
They're bringing you down with them.
Dallas, I don't really trust. Austin, I don't trust as far as I can throw them.
No.
Minnesota,
nope.
I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. Minnesota is the Thanos out here at 8-8-8, perfectly balanced as all things should be. Yeah. In fact, if they could just squeak up their goal difference just a little bit, they're -2 in goal difference. If they could be like 9-9-9 in 3 more games with a 0 goal differential, I would be just ecstatic. Then Sporting Kansas City is right behind them.
Yeah,
like I am not sleeping on Sporting to be that team to come through the wall like that Kool-Aid man.
Yeah, I mean, here's the West. Seattle 10 wins, 37 points, ahead of Salt Lake on goal difference. Houston 35 points, ahead of San Jose on wins 10-9. Vancouver's at 7th at 34. Dallas at 33. Austin 32 above the playoff bar because they have one more win over Minnesota. Then there's Kansas City at 29 points. So basically, you've got like 2 groups. You've got the Seattle group, which 3 through 7, 5 teams, 3 points. And then if you include Vancouver in the group below them, 7 through 11, 5 points, 5 teams. 3 points get you into the playoff picture if you're Zombie KC. So the West is stupid and will continue to be so for the remainder of the year. Yeah.
And to Ricky's point, we're forgetting Pat Noonan getting the Shield in Cincinnati. And man, it's not a slight against Pat Noonan. My thing is Houston has been that sleeping giant of a market. And if they go out and shock the world and beat Miami in the USOC final, and Ben Olsen gets a U.S. Open Cup, taking down Miami in the process,
and gets into the CONCACAF Champions Hemispheric Extravaganza.
Especially if they get to host a playoff game, he's got to be getting a bunch of down ballot votes.
Yeah,
like I say, I get it. He's not going to win. What Ben Olsen's doing there as a guy who has just been part of U.S. soccer for so damn long, and Houston wandering in the wilderness for so damn long, Ben Olsen showed up with a compass. Good on him.
Yeah. Since you mentioned the whole deal about tonight, 7:30. So they are in Champions Cup. Yes, by making their way all the way to the last game in Open Cup, they're already in. Yes. So tonight, 7:39 kick, 7:00 pregame, 92.9 the game on the Odyssey app with Mike and Jason. And the question I have, and Jason went through it on in opening kickoff over at soccerdownhere.net. So Jason does a really great job of breaking down everything to keep an eye on from the overnight into the morning and what to look at for today. Basically, it's who gets to do whatever they want with the ball. And Atlanta wants the ball, quoting the great head football coach Jimmy McGinty, winners always do. And Atlanta with possession, Cincinnati doesn't want possession. They think the ball's got cooties because they're Philadelphia South. And they want to press you. They want to pressure you. And as Nick says, keep an eye on the last 10 minutes of the half and the last 10 minutes of a match because of how gassed you are in this kind of a pressing situation. When you look at what's going on tonight, what do you see?
There's 2 teams coming in, and look, Atlanta has the advantage because they're at home. Cincinnati has been fine on the road. It's been fine for the most part.
Yes.
But both teams also, they didn't have to work extremely hard in the last week. Over the weekend, both teams pretty comfortable.
4-3-5 away from home, Cincinnati this year.
And yeah, well, what I mean by that is Atlanta beat Nashville to death with a bike chain.
Yes.
Cincinnati, who did Cincinnati play over New York City. Like they pretty sure they went to that was in TQL. Like they had New York City, they took care of business and they didn't have to strain to do it. Nobody's coming in. We talk about this with pitching all the time in baseball about, there's a difference between throwing 110 low effort like low stress pitches versus throwing like 80 high stress pitches. Neither one of these teams had to throw a lot of high stress pitches last time out. Both of them should feel fresh.
Yeah.
As much as Cincinnati is a pressing team, you still have Lucho Acosta, who's going to be in that MVP conversation one way or another. I don't know if he wins it outright, because Hani Mukhtar still has a claim to that. Thiago Almada is going to have a claim to that. Lucho is going to have a claim to that. It's going to be a really fun race.
Yep.
All that being said, go ahead.
Yeah. No, just my main thought about tonight, where Cincinnati is concerned. Yes, we know Atlanta has to go to FCD on the weekend. Big weekend for us here at the network. It's going to be basically a doubleheader Saturday. You'll have the 2s at 5 o'clock. Then you can go to wherever you're going, and then you can be at home ready to watch it.
Then you can hate watch LSU Florida State with John and I.
Thank you. Yes. My question is, we know that with Atlanta's players, the new players especially, where we will be seeing Saba time, I'm sure, and more of Shande Silva and more of all of this. Then my question for Cincinnati, considering that Cincinnati has Orlando on the weekend and you're 11 points clear, when is that programmed loss if you're Cincinnati?
Well, let's look at it. I got Atlanta. Then they go back home to play Orlando.
Right.
Then they go to Philadelphia. They go to Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
It might be when you go to. Well, I don't know. There's a long break between that Philadelphia game. Never mind. If you had to turn around within like 5 days and go to Philadelphia, I would say that one. It might be going to Montreal.
Okay.
It might be where you play Philadelphia on the 16th, and then 4 days later have to travel to Montreal.
Okay.
And Montreal has been an absolute bear to deal with at home.
Sure.
It's one of Atlanta's better wins, in my opinion, this season. The fact that Atlanta went up there and got 3 points off Montreal. Atlanta's had a lot of disappointing results this season that they let slip through their fingers. That win in Montreal was not one of them. That's been a tough place for teams to go win. Let's see, look at the schedule. Then you've got Cincinnati. So into the season, Cincinnati's going to suffer a little bit because they host New York Red Bulls. 3 days later, they have to go to Miami on October 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And God only knows what the playoff picture looks like at that point. Yep. Hopefully Cincinnati's locked up the Supporters Shield by then, because decision day is Atlanta and Cincinnati. I would love for Cincinnati to have locked up the Shield so that, they can just kind of coast and Atlanta can do their thing in Cincinnati. And hopefully Atlanta's in a good spot. Because don't forget, you end the season on decision day in Cincinnati. Not a great place to be, so go ahead and keep winning games.
Yes, that. So we'll flop over and talk about more of Atlanta United. Any other questions on a Wall Pass Wednesday? 10:30 to go with news in the morning. But you know what, Jarrett?
This is where I make my departure. So I'm gonna tag team out.
Yeah. So hot tag. So Jarrett's going to duck out, and if the world lets him, he can come back in at 10:30 as we go through news, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and any other things.
That's the game plan.
Table for a Wall Pass Wednesday. So Jarrett goes, and Bart comes in on the hot tag.
Good morning,
man. So it's like you're wearing the 404 kit. It is an explosion of color in the Bart Keeler studios because of the jersey. By the way, what do you think? I mean, obviously, I don't think that you wouldn't be wearing the 404 if you didn't like it. What do you think about it?
I think everything about the kit is great. At all the theater they put behind it, all the messaging they put behind it. I do have the bucket hat. It's somewhere. I didn't bring it out today. I'm sorry. Sorry, Ricky. I don't think the kit itself is all that great. I think everything else about it is fantastic, and I love it.
Yeah, because, I mean, as someone who is an old fart, that's me. I'm the old fart here. I like it. I mean, yes, it does. It has It has the 90s font, the 90s feel. The documentary, by the way, is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And all of that other stuff to be the education for this particular kit. Very, very cool stuff. I have mine, as you saw, for folks that caught prescription. I was wearing it. I was styling.
I have a picture of you wearing it. Actually, I took a picture of you on the
I'm sorry that you wasted film on me wearing something like that. The reason we always like to bring you in is for reffing down here. And we'll get to reffing down here if there were any incidents down the line. I want to end with reffing down here as we always do. But with the men's national team announcement, probably, hopefully today.
11, somewhere between 11 and 1.
Okay. What are your, before we actually get into like positions and players and things, from 30,000 feet, what are your expectations in this window other than hopefully nobody gets hurt?
Yeah, I mean, that's number one. No one gets hurt. Because to be quite honest, we're not going to learn too much from Uzbekistan and Oman. I don't want to discount them, but they're with this. If we're bringing in a full strength squad, it should look similar to some of the home qualifying matches we had. In that, yeah, they're going to be probably defensively resolute, but we should win by a couple goals, if not more. Obviously, it being a friendly, the intensity won't be there, so it's not like you're going to be playing an El Salvador team that's fighting for its life to get into the World Cup, but it'll be that type of level of team where, yeah, they're competent, they're going to be good, but with this strength squad, which will still not be a full strength squad because we'll have some injuries and other people missing, you should expect some comfortable wins. Obviously, they're at home. And I'm hoping that you see an inspired Christian Pulisic. You see a fun-loving Serginho Dest. You see a more invigorated Musa and McKennie midfield pairing. Possibly Musa more at the 6 because Tyler Adams won't be in here because he's still kind of out injured. So I'm just hoping to see some guys who got transfers to be a little bit more invigorated and happy with themselves, and hopefully we see some entertaining soccer.
All right, so let's go position group by position group here, and let me get your feedback on, I guess, who will versus / should be in these groups. Let's start at the back with keeper. And obviously, I know a lot of folks were looking forward to maybe seeing Zach Steffen, Sean Johnson. They're out because of injuries, so they're going to be watching like the rest of us. Then that lends us into Matt Turner, but Matt Turner is getting reps right now with Nottingham Forest after being transferred over from Arsenal, and I think he's in a fight for a number 1 slot. He doesn't want to jet and do national team duty because his resume already speaks for itself. So you're looking at maybe what? Calendar, Slonina, Turner as your keepers?
Yeah, I think those are the most likely ones. Horvath may come. It just depends on where he feels. But I think Calendar, Slonina, Turner are the 3 that I would want to bring the most. I think Turner still your number 1. Slonina getting some minutes now in the Belgian league. Yes, he's in Belgium. I got to be honest. I confuse Belgium and Netherlands if it's not
right there with you, brother.
There are like 3 clubs I know from each country, and after that, I'm like, they're all the same. And then you throw in Denmark sometimes, like, wait. I don't remember. So I think Turner, Slonina, Calendar are the 3 that I would like to see most because I'm most curious, right? Turner, I want to see him as number 1, but Calendar has become the MLS option, I think. We tried Roman Celentano. He hasn't been able to stay healthy or in form. But Drake Calendar has kind of replaced Sean Johnson in my mind as the MLS option of goalkeeper. And you got to have one of those.
Drake Calendar's been playing out of his mind for the last couple of months. Definitely has earned his stripes here. Outside back. We know that last time out, Nations League final, your outside backs were Serginho Dest, Anthony Robinson, Joe Scally. Now, with Dest at PSV, he's getting reps, in Champions League plus PSV. And you've got Robinson and Scally starting again. Are you looking at those three once again to be dropped into the pile?
Yep, and I'm going to add two more names that I think I would like to see to get them involved in the group. DeJuan Jones, I think, was good enough during the Gold Cup at left back. We don't have a true number 2 left back right now, so I'd say bring him in. And the other one is Brian Reynolds. He's playing in Netherlands and looked decent during the Gold Cup. You don't put too much stock into what the Gold Cup did, but you do want to reward positive performances. And I think both Jones and Reynolds were good enough in the Gold Cup to say, okay, come into camp. Let's see if you can just fit in with the team. I don't think they have any chance of displacing Dest or Jedi, but you need to have players in the pool, in the depth chart, who are familiar with, the other players around them, the system, all those kinds of things. So bring them in. They deserve it.
Because we need as many players in the pool as possible. Because we know what happened on, Caddy Day at Bushwood when you had everybody in the pool. What about, and let me throw another name out at you. And I would say that this name is more attached to his current situation than his past performance. DeAndre Yedlin. A lot of folks are sitting there saying Yedlin, but I'm like, it's because of who's around him at Messi and Friends that is elevating this conversation, not what he has been able to do.
We need to turn the page. This will be a theme when we talk about the U.S. women after September.
Right.
Turn the page. I'm not trying to disrespect DeAndre Yedlin, but is DeAndre Yedlin going to be a key player for you in 2026?
Nope.
Will he even be a key player for you in 2024? We don't know. Turn the page. Again, you have Dest and Scally. Those two guys are great. And by the way, both of them went to the World Cup last time. So if you're bringing Yedlin because of experience, we got guys who went to the World Cup. It is time to turn the page on DeAndre Yedlin. He's a very nice guy, a very good I get it. You have to allow other people to be good locker room presences, learn how to be that in their own right. And also, again, Brian Reynolds, I think, is a better performer right now. We saw them comparatively in the Gold Cup. Reynolds was a better performer than Yedlin was.
Center back, Nations League pairings, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, Chris Richards, Walker Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm.
Then
I don't think we're going to see Zimmerman this time around.
Yeah, it's like if healthy, but Gary's probably pull him back and sit there. No, I need him for the stretch run, so I can't release him, and you'll end up with a situation like that. CCV, Tim Ream, Richards, Miles. Yeah. What are you looking at here?
Well, CCV is still also dealing with a little bit of an injury, so unfortunately, I don't think we're likely to see him. I would definitely say that Robinson is getting called up. Miles is going. I think that Greg likes him, and again, this is the first window back with Greg 2.0. Richards played yesterday, and by all accounts was very good. Sorry, I did not watch the early round EFL Cup matches or whatever.
You didn't watch the Gummy Bear Cup yesterday?
No, I did not. Sorry. I don't care. My team was not playing, so don't care. I would say that we're likely to see Tim Ream. I don't know for sure if we will. Again, I don't know. I think it's time to think about turning the page on Tim Ream, not because he's been bad or anything, but again, is that going to be a guy who's going to help you in 2026? Is that even going to be a guy who's going to help you in 2024? We don't really know. But I think for right now, he'll probably get called in. I would say then the other two are the Mark McKenzie, Austin Trusty. I'm sure with the injuries that we have, it makes sense to call them in. That's also, I have 5 center backs. I'm not sticking to 23-player roster because I think that is dumb. Personally, I think why stick to that when you can just bring guys in? Again, you understand that there's a 23-man game day roster,
right?
But who cares? So I would bring in McKenzie, Ream, Richards, Robinson, and Trusty just because those guys have been 3 of those guys have been legit starters. The other 2 have been close enough, and we need to get them involved, get them experience, and who knows, especially with Austin Trusty now at Sheffield United,
right?
With McKenzie playing a lot in Belgium, you need to have them prepared.
Now, you're treating this like a camp roster, which is what I would imagine, we need to do anyway. It's like, okay, I'm inviting all these players into camp, and then I'll trim my roster. It's the opening.
I have 26 total that I've kind of selected as I would like to see them. 4 goalkeepers, 5 fullbacks, 5 center backs, 6 midfielders, 7 attackers.
Mm-hmm.
So you can pare down in any of those. Obviously, you're not taking 4 goalkeepers to an actual tournament.
Right.
And you're probably not taking 5 center backs to a tournament. So there are places for you to trim down for sure.
Central midfielders, Tyler Adams coming off of an injury. Now he's at Bournemouth. You figure that Iraola is going to want to make sure that he continues his rehab and is not available.
He's still listed as injured too. So I don't expect him to be released here. He might come and train, but I doubt he's coming.
And then you end up with Gio Reyna as a name, but Gio's also coming off of an injury. And so
I don't expect Gio either.
There. Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa was Nations League. Johnny was injured last night.
So that's one that I had on my list of guys to bring in because Johnny has never done it well for the U.S. national team, but now would be a good time. He's been playing really well for Internacional. He's been playing a lot for them. I mean, he's starting for a top Brazilian club, right? That deserves some sort of credit. And then he gets hurt last night. That sucks.
In a word, yes, it does. So no Johnny. Luca de la Torre left Celta's match against Real Friday with an injury. No update on his status, so he might be kept back. Busio Mihailovic, James Sands started in the Gold Cup. Younger players, McGlynn, Luna, Kremoski. If you want to tie Kremoski.
So I have 2 guys that I toyed with to bring up.
Okay.
One is Benjamin Kremoski.
Okay.
Because look, he's a very talented young player. And I hope we've asked him. I don't know if he's ready to make a decision. I don't, obviously he would not be cap tied from a friendly match or even attending camp. I would ask him. The other one is Luca Koleshi from Burnley.
Okay.
Because, again, he has made appearances, I believe, for the Canadian national team, but is not technically cap tied. He could still get a one-time switch. If I am any player looking at if I want to play for the U.S., Italy, or Canada, I'll tell you that the U.S. is probably the one that I would most want to play with because I know that they'll have actual matches and they'll probably pay me for attending those matches. And I'll have a shot at making a World Cup, making a Gold Cup, or making a Copa America, making all these tournaments that actually matter, which we cannot. So I don't even know what the extended format of Italy's making it. Canada may not exist in 2 years. We're not quite sure what's going on with their federation. We'll talk about that later.
You're wasting all your material. We need to save your Canada material for in a minute.
I got plenty of Canada material, John. So I would say Luca Koleshi would be a guy that I would call up because, and again, they may not want to, or they may want to come and say, hey, look, I'm not ready to make a decision, but I'll come to camp, which we've seen before. Mm-hmm. I think at this point, especially with all the players now who have kind of picked up injuries, why not? Mm-hmm. Why not? James Sands, though, would be a guy. That's my first call now that Adams and Cardoso are not available. Call up Sands. The answer still may be Musa at the 6, but with the other guys injured, Musa may need to play the more advanced midfield role.
McKinney right now is still tied to Juve.
He's playing for Juve, 3 minutes a game.
Yeah, so
he's playing.
Nick's wanted to know where Weston McKennie is.
He actually looked pretty good when he comes on for Juve, but we'll get to him in a second. But his other American teammate there is really moving Juve along. Weston looks good when he comes in. He just isn't getting much love.
Yeah, and the timesheet. McKennie at Juve, Georgi Mihailovic at AZ Alkmaar, Yunus Musa's at AC Milan. Yeah. We know all about Kremoski, Diego Luna, and Jack McGlynn.
And a guy now who might get picked up, John, is and I did not have him on my list because I don't think he's. I think this is one where I can say hey, stay with your club team is probably more important. But now, Paxton Aronson, might be worth giving the call in just because we know who Paxton is. We're not worried about him going anywhere, but Paxton with all the other injured players might be a guy to come in and if you think Moose is your best option at the 6 right now, which is something maybe still worth exploring, he might be a good one to call in.
All right, center forward. Folarin Balogun, Ricardo Pepi.
Yep.
Josh.
That's
it. Josh Sargent would have been a name, but he got injured, and he's going to be out for a while with Norwich. He got severely injured. David Wagner did have a press conference and say it's going to be months for Josh Sargent. Haji Wright, Jesus Ferreira. What does it look like?
So if you're wanting to expand the pool a little bit, I think you could bring in Haji Wright, but I think Balogun and Pepi are the only two strikers you need in this camp. I don't like bringing three strikers too often because also I feel like we know who the number one striker is, John.
Yeah.
It's Folarin Balogun.
Yeah.
Previously, we didn't really know. We basically had defaulted to Josh Sargent, and then we defaulted to Ricardo Pepi. Part of that was because at any given time, Ricardo Pepi was the only striker healthy. And then, we defaulted to Jesus Ferreira because despite him having clear flaws in his game at the international level, he's the only guy scoring goals. We don't have that issue anymore. I think Balogun's your guy. And then Pepi, I think, is the perfect number two to Balogun. And honestly, I think you could split time for both of them. I don't see why you wouldn't start both of them just because they're friendlies. It doesn't matter. But Haji Wright, I would consider, but I don't think anyone else in the striker depth chart I would consider too much right now. Sorry, not even Daryl Dike.
I was going to say, Sam, that's very brave, bringing Daryl Dike into the conversation.
Yeah, you can't play Daryl Dike too much because he'll get hurt if he rolls out of bed the wrong way. So just chill.
Yes. Wingers. Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah.
Mm-hmm.
Pulisic is now part of USAC Milan. You've got Weah at
and I love that because I know Nick Alifi absolutely loves the fact that Christian Pulisic is at AC Milan right now. It's his favorite player. He's getting his kids Pulisic jerseys.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, see you discussing the Canadian men's national team and Canada soccer in general is Nick discussing Captain America at USAC.
I know. I will say, I'll give it to. I don't think Nick hates Pulisic or hates that he's performing well for AC Milan. He's against the lack of direction that AC Milan has right now, or maybe it is a direction.
And the blatant promotion that they're doing, trying to cater to U.S. audiences through Serie A.
Yeah.
And
here's the thing, John. It's not a dumb idea because when you look at now we're getting sidetracked, so here we go. When you look at the landscape right now for U.S. soccer viewers, right? The Premier League is still number one, and there's obvious reasons for that. You and I can talk about the media implications, but we just know that it's the most exciting, entertaining league to watch. That's probably, the most likely to have the best players on any given weekend. Definitely top to bottom, the best teams.
Yeah.
We also know that from an American standpoint, you have it on actual cable network with a great streaming package behind it. We know that. Mm-hmm. Premier League's number one. La Liga used to be number two. They don't have that anymore. You don't have a lot of Americans on La Liga, for one. But who you also don't have in La Liga anymore? Messi and Ronaldo, right? We can watch Messi at home. We got Messi at home. We ain't got to go somewhere else to watch Messi. We got Messi at home now. Yep. So if you're Serie A, is it the Bundesliga, which ESPN has the rights to? I don't know if ESPN gives the love to that it deserves. Whereas with Paramount Plus and CBS, they're doing a great job of presenting soccer, period.
Mm-hmm.
Rich, I'm not talking tactics. I'm not talking actual good soccer. I'm talking presentation. I'm talking entertainment value. I'm talking putting it in a TV for people to watch. People aren't watching the Bundesliga the way that it's presented on ESPN because it's presented poorly on ESPN. Serie A has a great opportunity. And look, there's one thing I know the Italians who own these clubs will do. It's find a way to put money in their pockets, okay? We know this.
Not do it very
okay?
well. Yeah.
I didn't say it was legal or kosher or moral. I said that they'll just put money in their pockets.
Right.
This is an opportunity for Serie A with all the Americans in the league, but just in general, the history. Most Americans know big Serie A clubs. You can name 4 probably off the top of your head, maybe 5, 6 if you want to go down the list. You have a chance here if you're Serie A to capture a market, increase the value of Paramount Plus, which means you're going to get money in return.
Mm-hmm.
But you see what Paramount Plus is doing with their Golasso show, which, by the way, I love. I love the Golasso network. It's on basically all day while I'm working because it's just background noise, and it's better than Stephen A. Smith or some other blowing hard.
True.
It's actual soccer content 24/7. They've got Champions League. So, like, you've got an opportunity here to make yourself the second choice league, European league, for an American audience, which we both know is the most lucrative commercial audience. So AC Milan's not done. Sorry, Nick.
Paramount Plus's deal for Serie A goes through 24. So my guess is they're coming into their window to renegotiate. And
which I think at this point, there's no other option other than Paramount Plus, in my opinion. I mean, ESPN is not, if I'm a soccer product outside of, like, you know, some of the smaller countries, ESPN doesn't give me what you want anymore.
No.
You've seen other leagues do it better. You've seen the Premier League do it better on NBC and Peacock. You're seeing what Paramount Plus does with just soccer coverage in general. I would, obviously, they're going to want more money from Paramount Plus.
3-year deal back in 21 for $221 million. So that's what you're staring at right now. 3 into 22 is 7, 21, 3 into 11. So basically $74 million a year for the Serie A package to go to Paramount Plus, CBS Sports, take your pick. So that's
which you can probably get more now. But anyway, let's continue our discussion about the U.S. roster.
All right, so last position group. So we were discussing Captain America, Tim Weah, Brendan Aronson, Taylor Booth, who is injured, Alejandro Zendejas, Cade Cowell, and his lettuce could be a candidate. Kevin Paredes could be a candidate.
I would bring in Aronson, Pulisic, Weah, and then Zendejas. Again, with Paredes, I was in the same boat with Paxton Aronson as Kevin Paredes, where it's like, you're not going anywhere. We fully believe in you, but you're not ready to fully impact the U.S. national team at this point in time. It's the same. I mean, I feel the same way about, like, Benjamin Kromashki, right? I don't think he's going to necessarily make the team better or come in and be like, wow, this is great. That's more of a recruiting angle type thing. I don't think you need to bring in Paredes. He's not playing too much for Wolfsburg right now. If you want to, great. I'm not going to, like, do not get me wrong. I won't complain. But I would bring in Zendejas. He's a guy that we recruited, obviously, very heavily. He hasn't shown very well in any chance he's got. Maybe getting in with the group with Berhalter now coaching could be a little bit different. Maybe Berhalter sees him. He could give him better instructions. I don't know. But Zendejas is the guy that I would bring in right now. But he doesn't need to play all that much.
And so we're waiting for the announcement. Obviously, it's going to happen after the show's off the air because that's what they do. They decide not to do it during the show. They wait after the show. And, you know, obviously, it gives us more stuff to talk about at a later time. And it gives Bart stuff to talk about at SoccerForUSPod. So it gives him content. Doesn't give us content on the morning show, but it sure as hell gives Bart content to put up on SoccerForUSPod.
Yeah. And we'll be recording probably tomorrow about the roster release. Obviously, tonight we're not recording because I will be busy.
Because you're kind of busy.
And I'll have to get down to the stadium. So, you know.
All right. So when I mention John Herdman, other than the universal laughter, rolling out amongst the stars, to paraphrase Jimmy Buffett, with this whole situation with Canada Soccer, the men's national team, John Herdman going sideways to go to TFC, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I don't know where I want to start with this. We'll just start with the TFC hire. Okay,
sure.
We'll talk about that because I don't think the problem has really been the coaching in Toronto, even with Bob Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I think Atlanta got itself into a lot of issues for the past 4 years, where you were just signing players because you thought they were good soccer players, not that they fit into a tactical system or a vision. I think Toronto FC got into worse with that because Bill Manning, as we have been told, he literally just pulls up transfer market and says, give me a valuable Italian player. I think this hire for Toronto is meant to inject energy into the club.
As Bill Manning said in the article in The Athletic, he thought that bringing in somebody like John Herdman would put butts in seats. And
but
if
I
you're
don't
going
believe
that direction, if you're going that direction with this, how desperate are you to have butts in seats if you want to bring the men's national team coach over, thinking that you want to be a hub for Canada soccer in Toronto by doing this? By bringing Herdman over, you're a hub for Canada soccer. You're trying to attract folks to come and play for Toronto FC, when apparently the locker room wasn't all that. And you're talking about this generational talent that Canada soccer has. And if you think that 1 + 1 is going to equal 2, and bringing in players who are Canadian to come and play for, your self-imposed idea of Canada's soccer team in Major League Soccer, it's like you're going all over the place with all this.
I don't think Herdman has ever struck me as a guy who would be a very good club coach, because I think his tactics are very solid. I'm not dissing the tactics when he sticks to one set of tactics.
He has to do that.
Because during qualification, you saw a very clear tactical plan and identity, right? It was not complicated by any stretch. It was sit back in a low to mid block, or press high when you had the opportunity. Take the ball away and give it to one of your good players. And don't get me wrong, that type of mentality and philosophy can work at the club level. But I have one question. Is that the way that Toronto FC wants to play soccer?
Yes, we'll find out.
Because nothing about Herdman has shown me that he can play a very good attacking brand of soccer, which to me is the way Toronto wants to be seen, right?
Yeah.
They want to be the best club in Canada. So congrats, beating out 2 other clubs. But this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me for a number of reasons. One, like I said, his tactics I don't necessarily think are all that great. 2, the man has never coached club soccer. And to be quite honest, he doesn't have a career of club soccer coaching or playing, period. His first coaching gig was New Zealand youth national teams. And he's just kind of marched his way up the ranks. And let's be real honest. It's not like the New Zealand or Canadian women's national teams were all that professional, if you will, mainly because their federations don't really support them. But it's not like they were professional environments. From all that we've known and read about and can see, he brought a lot of professionalism to the Canadian men's team, for sure. But that wasn't backed up by tactics, and certainly by the end, when you were unable to really impact the game because of your squad selection or tactics.
And he wigged out.
Yeah.
I think he wigged out because he's like, okay, match 1, this happened. Oh-ish, I better change things.
And instead of just sticking to what got you there, you just changed. And it's not that you changed slightly. You changed everything.
Uh-huh.
And then at the end, you lose the U.S. and a CD team with a linebackers coach on the sideline in the knockout rounds of the Gold Cup.
You got your PE instructor in there.
Yeah, I mean, all props to BJ, but the man looks like an offensive line coach rather than a soccer
Sam
coach.
Pittman comes in to coach the national team.
I mean, seriously. I mean, this guy. I mean, it's.
Callahan's going to go and get himself some cold beers to go sell.
I know, right? That to me signifies how little. And that's the other thing. It's not like Canada had any success outside of qualifying. Let's just be real honest. Real honest. He was not a great coach for that team outside of qualifying. Canada, if you look at it on paper, had the talent to be a top 3, top 4 team in CONCACAF. Qualifying for the World Cup should have been not necessarily easy, but it should have been the expectation given the talent that they have. You have Alphonso Davies, right? Jonathan David, Kyle Larin, great goalkeepers, some decent other wingers and outside backs, a solid enough midfield and center backs. You had a recipe to get to the World Cup without even having a coach truly raise your level. Mm-hmm. They played really well in qualifying. I think a lot of that was hampered by the fact when you just look at the numbers, they massively outperformed their XG and massively outperformed their XG against. Conversely, the U.S. massively underperformed their XG, right? So it's not like he created this thing that like, oh my gosh, look how good they are. They still have never won. They've never made even a final of a Gold Cup outside of 2000. Okay. The one Nations League final they made, they got spanked by the U.S. What has he done outside of making up a trophy that they claim to have won? What has he done? Especially, let me rephrase that. What has he done that is outside of the expectations for this group of Canadian players?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's too many questions when it comes to a guy like John Herdman across the board.
Yeah. And then then you can talk about the locker room issues he had where, losing the trust of Alphonso Davies, which I think, again, points to how he is not a tactically astute coach. I mean, Alphonso Davies has played for some great tacticians at Bayern Munich, He loses the trust of Borjan by cutting him. Which, to be fair, let's just be real honest. He probably needed to anyway. And I think that, again, that's his own fault for not making that move before the Gold Cup and telling Borjan, like, hey, man, I appreciate you, but, like, we're going to move to Dayton St. Clair. He's younger. Mm-hmm. We need to start looking forward, not staying the same. And his decisions at the end really just started to not make a lot of sense. They certainly weren't paying off. And you see what happens.
And Herdman gets frustrated with the financial situation. Like I said,
which is fair. Like, that's the thing. That is a very legitimate complaint he has. Mm-hmm. Is Canada Soccer sucks. Mm-hmm. We don't know where the money goes. Well, we do.
Well, it goes to Canada Soccer business, and
we don't know why the money goes there. Well, oh wait, we do. We don't know why they made the decisions they made. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, Canada Soccer business is looking out for Canada Soccer business and for the Canadian Premier League,
which I understand, but you've also got to understand that the health of Canada Soccer as a whole is more important than the Canadian Premier League, and that's something that, despite what people cry about every day, that is something that U.S. Soccer and MLS did work towards. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. So John Herdman had his press conference yesterday. Do not know if he won the press conference, but like I said, the article that Joshua Cloakey came out with yesterday with The Athletic is your required reading if you have a subscription to The Athletic. And so, that was I just have to mention John Herdman or Canada Soccer, and I know that you are going to be going off and running in all of this. So that was a no-brainer to want to discuss John Herdman trying to win a press conference for you.
We'll see. Obviously, he's not taking over the team this month. I don't think he's taking over until October.
October 1st. Yeah.
Which, whatever, Toronto FC do. I don't.
He's helping the transition from himself to his successor on the men's national team.
Which, that's the next question, John. Let's continue to bash on Canada Soccer for a second.
Oh, wow.
Who are you going to get and how are you going to pay him? I mean, what, you going to put Bev Priestman into charge of both national teams?
I was leaning toward Bobby Smirniotis actually to be the new head coach for Toronto FC because of his time at Ford.
That's the Canadian Premier League guy. Yeah. That could be one. Isn't Phil Neville still up there? Just hire him.
Yeah. Well, but you'd have to pay him.
Pretend you pay him. I don't know.
Canadian Tire bucks, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, BK Tires or OK Tire, whatever they, sponsors all the.
Yeah. Canadian Tire.
Just give him a sponsorship with Scotty's and, there you go.
Swiss Chalet. Get him to the buffet. Careful. Pizza. You get sponsorships with Pizza and Swiss Chalet.
I mean, look, he just give him a sponsorship deal with Tim Hortons and make sure he has a cup in his hand every time he arrives to the training ground.
Exactly.
And have him say something about Timbits.
Yes.
And a double-double every single time that he gets up there. Give him the Nick Saban Coca-Cola deal.
Yes, absolutely. Nix, I am trying to effort someone from the Toronto perspective so we can.
Oh, I got a guy.
You got a guy?
Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can find him real quick. It's not like we talk, but I follow him on Twitter. He's a Canada Soccer and TFC Live guy.
Because I had like a couple guys in mind, but if you got a guy,
I'm trying to find the tweet because he had a really good tweet yesterday.
Because I mean, I follow John Molinaro and a couple of others, a couple of the One Soccer folks. So, put your thinking cap on. If you got a guy that we can bring on to discuss what's going on and what the initial.
I'll try to get him for you.
Yeah. What the word on the street is.
Yeah. I'll let's see if I can. He had a really good tweet about it the other day, and I was like,
yes.
Okay. So first off, and this is where I think I'm at as well. He said, very quick initial thoughts. This is Dwayne Rollins at 24th minute on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Number one, this does not ruin #CanMNT. The talent matters more than the coach. It's a challenge, though, which I agree. Mm-hmm. 2, this does not fix TFC. No. The talent matters more than the coach. It's interesting, though. And so his point, and I agree, is talent is more important. We're seeing this with Atlanta United. Sorry, John. I'm going to diss on Gonzalo Pineda for a second.
All right.
He has still not won me over as an actual head coach in MLS. However, having good players makes you look like a hell of a coach. And we're seeing that with Herdman, right? And to be fair to Herdman, I think he got more than what we expected out of New Zealand, but like New Zealand still never has done anything at the World Cup. They got their first World Cup, like one of their first World Cup wins while hosting the tournament. Still didn't make it out of the group.
True.
He got a little bit more than expected. He made them, I don't know. We had to respect them, but they weren't great. Canada, they actually were more successful after he left. Now, granted, he brought them to great success. But was that because he just had more talent? Because the Canadian women's players were more talented than other players in the world. Mm-hmm. And with the Canadian men's national team, yes, I understand he finished first in World Cup qualifying. I'm not denying that. However, let's not pretend like that matters, because what happened at the World Cup?
There you go.
So
2, 3.
Yeah. So to Dwayne's point, the talent for Canada should get them to a high level, especially within CONCACAF. They should be in the semifinals of every single CONCACAF tournament they're in. Yeah. They got unlucky playing the U.S. in the knockout rounds, but you know why they had to play the U.S. in the knockout rounds, John? Because they didn't win their group. So, that's kind of his own doing. And again, they should have the talent to do that no matter who they're playing. With TFC, though, the problem is it's not so much talent as it is roster construction. Would you agree with me there?
Yeah, it's and then what you are hoping that with the roster that you construct, you have the talent on hand to do what you do. Right.
And I think that's the confusing thing for a lot of us is and why the Bradley stuff is also confusing for us is because Bob Bradley, in my opinion, is a good coach. He's proved that in a lot of places that he can coach. He might be a little past his prime.
But the mistake, I think, there was you gave Bob both titles.
Exactly. And because the guy at the top wanted more power.
Mm-hmm. And he wanted to prove, and this, like I said, this is just me. I think that from what happened in Los Angeles, he wanted to prove that he could be in charge of both tactics and talent and assemble everything top down.
Yes.
And he could do that in a place like Toronto, and it didn't happen. You cannot – this is Bob Bradley's Toronto FC is your poster child for why you don't give somebody both titles.
And, another one might be Bruce Arena, who's struggling now.
Where's Bruce? Where is Bruce? That's the larger. We talked about it yesterday. We don't know what's up with Bruce. I mean,
I think he and Bill Belichick are hanging out in a man cave somewhere. To be honest,
Bruce is probably like in the Bahamas or something, kicking back and sipping on Mai Tais. He has completely and totally just dropped off the radar. I mean, but we don't know the why, and that's the other part in all of this.
We do and we don't. And we don't know what it actually was. We know what it was, but not really. I think the problem also is Bill Manning. Just it starts and ends with him.
Absolutely.
It starts and ends with him. So if you're Toronto, it's not that I don't think Bill Manning is he's not unmotivated.
Bill Manning wants to spend MLS's money like nobody's business.
He wants to spend money. He wants to build a big club, right?
And what he wants to do, he thinks that the solution to a problem is spending more money.
Yeah.
And we're seeing what's going on.
Right.
But
that's the thing is he thinks that this Herdman hire is going to, as you said, energize the fan base and like all these things. And it's like, well, energy is great, but tactics and winning matter more.
And actually, coaching a club team, but
he's never coached a club team before, which to me is more important than an international coach never having coached an international team before, because you can adjust, you can learn how to coach at the international level. I'm hoping that Greg Berhalter has learned that. Speaking of going into coach that coaching hires, that episode, by the way, of Soccer for Us will drop probably next week. We'll record the Greg Berhalter episode heading into the friendlies. This week is roster reaction, and we're also giving our 3 deeps to kind of compare with the roster that's dropped. But I think Toronto really needs to just take a step back, accept defeat for a year.
Oh no,
which isn't going to happen, and they should have reset, in my opinion, after the season, like fully reset.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with hiring a guy now to come in later and hopefully evaluate the squad as a whole and then, figure out the direction, especially with the roster you need to go. But I don't think Herdman's the guy. I could be completely wrong, John. I don't know. Maybe his lack of club experience doesn't matter.
Because it's fresh perspective.
Right. But what perspective is that? Because that's the thing that I have questions about is he doesn't know. I don't know, John, what his preferred style of play is.
No.
Because during his stops at all of his national teams that he's been at, the Canadian women were by far the most talented team he had. But even still, they had to play a little bit more reactionary approach because their talent level was not at the level as others, right? Now, they were very good against other teams, but look, you still have Christine Sinclair and I think the Canadian women's talent pool has bettered since he left. That's not a knock on him, but he had a great collection of talent comparatively to the rest of the world.
Correct.
Congrats. You got some third place finishes. That's fantastic. But with the men, he had a great talent pool. I just keep going back to that. It's not like he didn't have talent with the Canadian men, and he got a lot out of them at the beginning, and we saw it very quickly drop off.
Yep. One more thing before you go, and it has to do with this weekend. Rich has a question for you. He needs your opinion for West Virginia, Penn State. Penn State's the 20.5-point favorite.
I will. Yeah, they're at home at night. I would take Penn State.
Yeah, there's a reason that Neil Brown is listed as one of the first 5 out this season.
Here's the thing. Neil Brown may not get fired this season despite going 4-10 or whatever, however many games we play in college football now.
4-8.
4-8. Thank you, math. The university right now is at a financial free fall. I know the financials of the athletic department and the university are separate, and obviously boosters, if needed, can be called upon to buy out a coach's contract. But the university is not in a good financial state. So firing a coach, an employee of the university that makes a decent amount of money, to then have to hire someone who also will be making a decent amount of money from the university could be problematic. Neil Brown looked like a slam dunk hire when we hired him and has been just terrible ever since. I am very curious to see how the new Big 12, though, treats us, because obviously we have, still have Texas and Oklahoma, but, we've got some other teams in this conference now who we play this season that, for me, if you don't beat them, I'm going to have serious questions about you. Now, I think that Cincinnati and UCF have much better programs than WVU right now.
Yeah.
But WVU should not be below those two in the Big 12. You just shouldn't. And I think they are. So for Neil Brown, you've got Penn State and Pitt in September. If you don't win one of those games, I don't know how you make it past September. I think you probably will, just because the university doesn't have the money necessarily to buy him out right now. But because he still has a contract extension, because the previous athletic director stupidly gave him an extension after not having earned it. He made one bowl game during the COVID year.
Yeah.
So I am very down on Neil Brown. He has been, I think the most criminal thing he's done to this team is make them not fun to watch, which, again, you went from Holgerson, who he himself was fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
The team was also fun, to Neil Brown, where it's a predictable, boring team. He doesn't really take risks. He doesn't really do anything outside of what the playbook or the coaching handbook tells him to do. And that's not the type of coach that we had grown accustomed to, because even under Rich Rod, we were fun.
Mm-hmm. You were half past crazy.
We had 2 decades of fun football in Morgantown, and now we don't. That's the biggest crime that Neil Brown has committed.
All right, recap it for me. Soccer for USPOD. What's the timelines?
So we'll record hopefully tomorrow, if all of us can make it work.
Yes.
The reaction to the roster that should drop sometime between now and tomorrow.
Yeah. When you tape, yes.
That'll also include us going through our individual 3D rosters to compare. We want to kind of set the tone as we enter Greg Berhalter 2.0 era. And then next week we'll have the Berhalter episode where we discuss all of our issues with rehiring Berhalter, all of our hopes for rehiring Berhalter, and all the problems with U.S. soccer leading to rehiring Berhalter. But yeah, so we'll have 2 episodes within the next week. And then after that, we'll have episodes recapping the friendly window that we had in September.
There you go. Bart Keeler at Soccer for USPOD at Bartimus Prime 19, styling and profiling in his 404 kit in a very, very colorful office space, sipping from his Atlanta United mug, his beverage of choice, because he's got a game that he has to attend later today. Bart, thanks for the numbers. And we got to get you on the college football show over at OSG Sports. We tape on Sunday mornings. I don't know how coherent you would be, but
if I'm not refereeing, I can do it.
There you go. Yeah, usually we record at 10 and 2. We do like the A block at 10, the B block at 2, and crash all these other kinds of
college football is how I started my podcasting career. So
there you go. Buy this man a coffee at Soccer for USPOD. Bart, as always, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll do. Man, we didn't even get to do reffing down here and talk about Virgil van Dijk or anything like that.
Oh, it was a red card. First off, that was a red card.
And then the mouthing off got him another couple, as it should have. So
yeah, that was a red card. I think he was more shocked that he got a red card than anything.
We'll talk magic words and all these other kinds of things next time out at reffing.
Don't curse at referees.
Be good, my friend. What he said. That's Bart Keeler. All right. So we got 15 minutes. We'll go over what to watch. We'll go over gossip, rumor, and innuendo and all these other kinds of things and get you ready. Any other questions you guys have? Amelia, you asked about Kalen. I don't have an answer. And, I don't think any of us do. So, yeah. So we'll see what happens there with her. But no answers at all. No, nothing. And it's Apple TV's prerogative to let us know about those kinds of things. So, all right, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Apparently, we have now set a new record when it comes to spending in a transfer window, and this has been cleared by $500 million, I believe. And a lot of that goes to the Saudi Premier League. So we'll keep an eye on the finishing touches. Once again, that goes until 5 or 6 o'clock on Friday, local time. It's supposed to be a Big Ben. I think Big Ben goes at 11, which -5 means 6 o'clock. So I think 6 o'clock Friday, our time, is when the transfer window closes. We'll get into all the other stuff, and we'll get into announcers too. Thank you, Ricky, for reminding me of that. Kevin Egan and Kendra D. St. Albans. So Kevin gets a home game before he goes out to do SmackDown on Friday. Chelsea could launch a bid for Ivan Toney before the transfer window shuts on the 1st, according to our friends at The Independent. Brentford's looking for $80 million. Keep an eye on that. Spurs have offered Bayern Munich the chance to sign Eric Dyer. Brentford have pulled out of the race to sign Brennan Johnson, leaving Spurs as the front runners to strike a deal with the Nottingham Forest. Remember, that target is about $50 million. So keep an eye on that. If Brentford could have sold Ivan Toney for $80 for someone who's not going to be playing till the first of the year, then reinvested $50 of that to bring in Brennan Johnson, maybe that would be the order for that to happen, but it has not happened in that way, and they have until Friday to figure it out. Spurs have also been in contact with Barcelona over the availability of Ansu Fati, but they face competition from Chelsea. That's from our friend Fabrizio Romano. Manchester United have approached Lyon over a loan move for left-back Nicolas Tagliafico. Besiktas are set to offer Manchester United's Mason Greenwood a return to football after it was announced he would leave Old Trafford. That's from iSport. United have also submitted a proposal to sign Mark Cucurella. Is it Cucurella or Cucurella? Because I've now heard both. He was Cucurella at Brighton, then he went Cucurella at Chelsea. So whichever one he is now, Manchester United have submitted a proposal to sign him from Chelsea. Chelsea have also gotten an inquiry from Bayern Munich over Conor Gallagher, and Trevor Chalobah is also open to a move to the Bundesliga champs. Chelsea also considering a move to bring in Joao Felix back to the club after he had the loan spell last year. Villa are in talks with Barca over defender Clement Lenglet. That's once again from Fabrizio Romano. Fulham are in advanced talks with Everton to sign Alex Iwobi. Fulham have also agreed on a deal with Sevilla for forward Lucas Ocampos. Looking increasingly likely that West Ham will offer Jesse Lingard a short-term deal. Forest have agreed on a loan deal with Arsenal for their 23-year-old left-back Nuno Tavares. But Arsenal have rejected Chelsea's approach for Emile Smith-Rowe. That's from the four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Wolves, who scored more goals yesterday in the Gummy Bear Cup than they've scored in quite some time, are exploring a move for Club Libertad's 18-year-old Paraguayan forward Enzo Gonzalez. West Ham are also in talks with PSG over the signing of Hugo Ekitike. Crystal Palace have also submitted a loan offer for Ekitike as well. It's from our friends at L'Equipe. Luton are keen on a loan deal for Arsenal's defender Rob Holding. Liverpool's English defender Nat Phillips could leave before the end of the transfer window. Middlesbrough are among the clubs interested in loaning the 26-year-old. So that's round one of gossip, rumor, and innuendo. The other stuff going on, we should probably go into like sports and then home when it comes to Man City have agreed to a deal, $55 million, and this has come out in the last 15 minutes, €55 million, 47.3 million pounds up front for Mateus Nunes. Tommy Doyle goes to Wolves on an initial loan with a €5 million option and a significant sell-on clause. Chelsea have inquired over signing Cole Palmer from City. So that's a lot of activity with Manchester City. No formal agreement. Discussions remain ongoing with Wolves over Nunez. Discussions remain ongoing. Nunez has a contract until 2027, option of a further year, has not been turning up to Wolves training camp to try to force this move. And the first bid was rejected last week. So deals are separate with Doyle and with Nunez, but the Doyle move has helped with negotiations. Chelsea's inquiry on Cole Palmer. Remember a couple of weeks ago on Prem and Proper, we had Pep Guardiola saying that a loan move with Cole Palmer would not suit the player, therefore a permanent switch is more likely. He's played in the Premier League opener against Burnley on the bench for the last two, scored in Community Shield. He scored in every competition that he has been a part of with Manchester City except for the Premier League. That's probably coming soon. Other Premier League and other transfery stuff from the morning, once again, courtesy of our friends at Sky. 11 p.m. Friday in England. That is the shutdown time for the window. Manchester United are holding initial talks over Højbjerg. The loan offer is in on Cucurella. An Amrabat loan move is also being explored for Manchester United, with talks with Fiorentina over Amrabat coming in on loan, emerging as their primary target, wants to move to Old Trafford, training away from the Fiorentina first-team squad while his future is being sorted. He played under Erik ten Hag before when they were both at Utrecht. And so Højbjerg and Ryan Gravenberch are among other options as well in all of that run. So Ansu Fati, Brennan Johnson, and Bakayoko right now are the Spurs targets as they chase after a forward. Eric Dyer offered to Bayern. We talked about that. Liverpool's Joe Gomez is wanted by Al Ittihad. Liverpool is not too keen on that move right now. Romelu Lukaku's plane was being tracked. He's set to sign for Roma from Chelsea. And so, I mean, we do that with college football coaches and FlightAware and things like that, but apparently Romelu Lukaku's plane was tracked as he was getting ready for this loan deal with Roma. Expected to formally sign the season-long deal with Roma after undergoing a medical on Tuesday. Straight loan with a fee between $7 and $8 million. $7 and $8 million for someone who was picked up for as much as he was. $97.5 million. Joined Chelsea from Inter in August of 2021. £97.5 million. Loan deal now worth between $7 and $8 million, depending upon performance-related conditions. Roma will cover Lukaku's wages after he agreed to a salary cut for the remaining 3 years of his Chelsea contract. Release clause in the contract thought to be in the region of £38 million. Roma officials Ryan Friedkin and Thiago Pinto flew to London last weekend for face-to-face talks about bringing Lukaku over. Remember, he spent last season on loan at Inter Milan after he fell out of favor at Chelsea following the interview where he said he wasn't happy being around Thomas Tuchel. And Lukaku wanted to go back to Italy, so he steps out of line and he wants to talk to other teams other than the team that he was currently or last attached to. So that didn't go over well and has not gone over well ever since. And so you've got all of that to look at. Bayern talks are ongoing over Trevor Chalobah with Chelsea. Structure of the payment terms still being negotiated. Thought Chalobah wants to make the move. Personal terms not expected to be a problem. All parties are hopeful of concluding a deal. Bayern sees Chalobah as a replacement for Inter Milan-bound Benjamin Pavard. So you've got that information out there as well. What you can watch on TV, and I know I've got to go over the announced teams too before we go, and thanks to everybody for all of your stuff that's going on today. Do not follow Adam John on Twitter. And the chicken farming content, that is something I would not have anticipated. Chicken farming content when it comes to what to keep an eye on for players. A lot of stuff on TV today. Once again, if there's a network that you don't have access to, like BN, For the Fans, Gold TV, those kinds of things, you can pick them up at Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here, and you can grab all of that material. Brasileiro, TIC, a lot of the South American leagues are available. Jason got me hooked. I blame him. ftz.co/soccer down here. BN's got Libertadores and Sudamericana, Racing and Boca Juniors at 8:30 tonight. That's big. Sudamericana, Estudiantes, and Corinthians running at the same time. BN and Espanol is your simulcaster. We mentioned everything that's on Season Pass. The free games are Messi and Friends in Nashville, New England Red Bulls, NYCFC Montreal, Toronto, Philly, Houston, Columbus, Minnesota, and Colorado. All the rest are on Season Pass. Gummy Bear Cup has Doncaster Rovers and Everton at 3 o'clock on the Plus. USL Championship and League One are available on ESPN Plus as well tonight. Handful of matches are available there as well from both leagues. And you have men's and women's soccer. You got a handful of matches there. Fox Soccer Plus, Caribbean Club Championship, Atletico Pantoja, and Dunby Holden. I got to do more research on a team name like that. That's at 8 o'clock. Serie B, Sampdoria Venezia is at 2:30. Golazo Network and Paramount Plus have a UEFA Champions League playoff activity at 3 o'clock. Golazo has PSV and Rangers, as does Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus has AEK and Antwerp, and FC Copenhagen and Rakov Shostakova. Both of those are at 3 as well. Brasileiro at 5:30 with Goiás and Grêmio. Let's get into the papers before we go and see if there's any other stories that we've missed. It looks like Harry Maguire is set to keep his place on the England squad. With all of the stuff going on around him, he's still set to keep that spot on the national team. Now you wonder if it's going to be Henderson or James Ward-Prowse that will be attached to all of those. Trying to see, the Sanchez bid has been rejected for Spurs. We mentioned the move for Cole Palmer. Neil Lennon, I forgot to ask Jared about this. Neil Lennon is keen on the Hibs job. Neil Lennon, Graham Arnold, Stephen Robinson, Scott Brown have been linked to the Hibernian job who could replace Lee Johnson. Neil Lennon wants it badly. I know that Bam wants he wants Graham Arnold to take it so he can get a new coach for his national team. Steve Bruce says he's looking to get back in football. Beat 2, 3, 4. Van Dijk has been charged with improper conduct. So we'll keep an eye on the impending more matches than the one. Avoiding the 3 and the 4-letter paper, as we always do when it comes to storylines. Manchester United run the risk of losing Andre Onana for up to 5 weeks in the new year after he was recalled by Cameroon. He's been named to the Cameroon squad for their final African Cup of Nations qualifying match against Burundi, September 12, when the winner secures their place in the finals. West Ham United have been approached by a club in the Saudi Pro League about selling Spain midfielder Pablo Fornals. Once again, it's from our friends at The Telegraph. Avoiding the 3-letter paper. The Guardian says the Union of European Clubs, which represents 121 teams from around the continent, has issued a statement urging Luis Rubiales to stand down with immediate effect as president of the Spanish Football Federation. I don't think that's going to go well. Chelsea have been accused of penny pinching and putting financial strain on supporters after removing a $10 coach subsidy for travel to domestic away games. So they're spending all this money, but apparently they want to remove a £10 coach subsidy for travel to away games. There's that. Daily Mirror. Manchester United goalkeeper Ben Foster's branded Arsenal's decision to sign David Raya pathetic. Darwin Nunez opened up about the impact Marcelo Bielsa had on his game after his brilliant cameo in Liverpool's win over Newcastle. BBC News segment detailing Luis Rubiales' saga used footage of former Manchester City and West Ham defender Pablo Zabaleta in error. And the Telegraph actually has video of Jenny Hermoso's initial reaction of the kiss seen around the world. Liverpool defender Nat Phillips could finally complete a switch from Anfield before the transfer deadline. Athletic says Jordi Alba set to step aside international duty from Spain. Paul Mullen has returned to non-contact training at Wrexham after their loss in the Gummy Bear Cup. Pochettino committed to continuing the legacy of Chelsea's academy despite the arrival of all the big money signings. Nottingham Forest edging closer. We mentioned Nuno Tavares. They're also close to completing the signing of Murillo. Leeds formally abandoned their bid for Bayer Leverkusen midfielder Nadim Amiri after failed negotiations. Barcelona defender Eric Garcia has told Xavi he wants to leave on loan to Girona. Tottenham could miss out on Porto striker Mehdi Taremi as AC Milan close in on a late summer deal, according to the Express. And that looks like that is it. Daily Record says Alfredo Morelos could be set to reunite with former Rangers pal Ryan Kent with a transfer to Fenerbahce edging closer. That is the show for today. Coach and bus subsidies. Have to book a couple $100 flights, no doubt. That is a big difference, David. Back at it again tomorrow. We will discuss what happened all across Major League Soccer. Oh, the announcers. Man, I always forgot. You mentioned Kevin and Kendra tonight. MLS Communications. All right, MLS PR following. All right, media. Getting into all of the aspirations. Okay, so here we go. Kevin and Kendra. Kevin gets a home game tonight at 7:30. Number one crew is with Messi and friends taking on Nashville. Krakauer and Lloyd Sam get a home game with Charlotte. Jen Hildreth, Lori Lindsay get Red Bulls and the Revs. Drake Cordero, Jamie Watson get NYC and Montreal. Whittingham and Ross Smith, Toronto and Philly. Costigan and Mo Adu get a Seattle game, but it's in Austin. Tyler Terrence, American legend Kobe Jones get Chicago, Vancouver. Tony Husband, Devin Kerr, Houston and Columbus. Callum Williams gets a home game with the Loons, paired with Kalen Carr. Max and Dunny get all caps in FC Dallas. Kanji and Danny get to RSL in Portland. Out west, it is Rogo and Heath Pierce. They're going to be calling Cali Classico from San Jose. Now it's a show. Once again, tonight, 7 o'clock. It is Five Stripes Countdown with Mike and Jason, 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app. Game kick 7:39. They'll have a full post-game report after the fact. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning. Nico Moreno will be joining us at 10:30 to break down everything from his perspective. And we'll be back at it running around as quickly as possible. Hard out at 11 o'clock because we catch up with the Twos for their match on Saturday at home against FC Cincinnati. So we're going to catch up with them on that. So that's the show. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks to Bart for dropping in overtime and talking about national team stuff, multiple national teams. And it's great to have Jarrett when he can pop in and the real world doesn't intervene. For everybody here at SDH, that's another round of the shows. Promo, Eliminize, eliminize.com/Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Proud sponsors of everything SDH. There's your QR code before we go. And enjoy it. We'll be back at it again 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. We've got to start early so we can be out by 11 o'clock. So 9 o'clock start tomorrow. We'll be back at it again. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. We'll do it again. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.